Okay, see what this one looks like. This will be an interesting one, hopefully. Shaking hand, sorry folks. Hopefully the shake correction on this camera, on this phone, actually works to get rid of the worst of my shaking. So one of the useful things with some of this technology is the suppression of shaking of camera shake, and I think this phone's got it, if I'm correct. So it means it's not going to be as obvious as it would be conventionally. But still, it's quite shaky sometimes what happens. So I'm just going to make this look really nice, hopefully. This one's going to be a challenging one, just a little bit, maybe not. It's hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes, surprise, surprise, you get a good surprise that it's not so hard after all and it's come up a treat. Some happy accidents, for example. Let's see how we go with this one. It is Pandora Jewellery Collections 2018. Oh, it's a bit old. 2018? Isn't that a bit passé for something that is meant to be fashionable? Oh well, it doesn't matter, it's okay. It goes to show that even then they can't always keep up with the trends. So I'm going to enlarge this. See how we go. But yeah, even the trend is, obviously they're trying to get rid of these, or maybe it's because it's still, summer's over now, it's March. So maybe they are getting a bit, maybe they're trying to get rid of these brochures, or whatever you call them, booklets, whatever. We're just going to make it a bit large on the horizontal, because, fuck, I hate that. Going to make it just a little bit bigger. See how we go with this. But yeah, it's funny, this is not a 2019 collection. But it's summer's only just ended a few days ago, or a couple of days ago. So it's probably from last summer, which started, well, it's 2019 now. Anyway, that looks interesting. We don't really want the Pandora and all that shit on there, so we're going to stretch it. Although it's going to look really stretchy, it's going to look really funny. But that's part of the fun of being creative with this photocopier, is having a bit of artistic license, as you could call it. So the horizontal, we're going to make our horizontal go at, going to call it, we're going to ramp it up really high. We're going to make it 300%. And here, we're going to put it up to 240. I don't know how this is going to work at 240. I don't think it's going to work somehow. But let's see if we can make this Pandora look interesting. I'm actually thinking it might be better as a movement piece rather than a still piece, to be quite honest. And we've actually lost, I've done something wrong. I know why, because the head I know that's why. Because the head is at the end, wrong end. I've got it upside down, so it's not going to look any good. So I'm wondering if we're going to change this and make this into something more interesting anyway. So we're thinking we're going to make it 300 that way. Wondering if there's any other controls I can improve the settings with. Maybe the hue. Maybe the hue can go down a bit warmer. And we're just going to go and make it into a movement piece. We're not going to stick with this boring still image. We're going to do another piece where movement transforms the image into something more creative. So a bit of fun with a bit of rich people's shit. Must cost a lot for Pandora to get those brochures printed. It's a wonder how many things you can get for free these days, even though it's not a free world that we live in. But capitalist companies, that looks shit. We do better. I think we've got to set the hue a bit back to a cooler setting. But basically, it's amazing how in a world where it seems like you can never get a free lunch, so to speak, you can still get free brochures and free samples sometimes. You know, it's interesting how that happens, even in a world where you wouldn't think. But of course they're trying to sell their product, so the best way they can promote their product is to give out little samples or brochures that are as glossy as can be. And they take a lot of risks with stuff like that, thinking that it's going to mean, but they do, but it's meant to be to promote their product, not to be sort of something that a person like me takes and keeps or uses in a demo. But I'm a person who hates capitalism, and I'll actually take capitalism and use it and abuse it if I see it it's going to make an improvement on my life or the lives of other people who are less fortunate. I do believe that capitalism in so many ways can be used and abused. I don't have any respect for it, and I'm thinking maybe that hue should go back to warm. So I just don't have any respect for it. I will use it and abuse it if I consider it's going to be of use to mankind, because capitalism is not a friend of mankind. It's a friend only of people who are rich and greedy, and people who just don't care about the environment or the human race. They just want to make money. So I consider it an evil activity. It's okay to have money in society is important. We can't get rid of money. I'm not advocating for communism, because communism doesn't work. We all know communism doesn't work. But what we know now is that capitalism doesn't work either in the long term. It's destroying our planet. Too much plastic, too much plastic and too much waste in general. It's just so wrong. I'm just wondering whether I'm going to keep this or maybe consign it to the recycle pile. I don't like encouraging capitalism. I have to use it. I have to basically I had to buy this machine, for example, but I'm using it against Konica Minolta. I'm going to make Konica Minolta look like shit, because they are shit. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about the people. They just care about lining their pockets. And sometimes you have to really get in there and abuse the shit out of capitalism, because capitalism is a killer. I mean, people die, people, like, for example, I saw at Kmart today that they had a product recall of some toys. And I'm really appalled at that, because not only is it dangerous for children, but the children have to accept that they're going to part with their favourite toy. And how's that going to feel for a little child to have to give up their little dollhouse because it is possible that screws could come loose and become a choking hazard, which was an example of what happened I saw today. So it's like that, and it's really cruel that a child has to accept that they have to let their parents take their dollhouse away because it's considered dangerous. And of course Kmart could end up with a lawsuit if lawsuits if children end up ingesting these screws from that product. So it's really not good. It could be dangerous, and also the fact that the child is traumatised by having to give up their potentially could be their favourite toy. It's just not good enough, folks. It's not acceptable. But the way the world is, this kind of foolishness is acceptable to them, to the pigs that make these products, who don't give a flying fuck about the customers or the fucking environment. And the poor little children have to give up their fucking toys because their fucking toys could kill them, potentially kill them, and Kmart could end up with a fucking lawsuit. So it's not good enough, folks, that we have to do this. I wonder if we can make this better. Just trying to have a look at this. So I've got that there. I'm going to try and see if we can enlarge this off the edge a bit. It looks a bit, doesn't look like a very good composition. But it's really bad that we have to do, the children have to part with their favourite toys because they're being recalled for stupidity, careless design. And you know the story about Samsung and the Galaxy Note 7, not the Note 8, the Note 7. Get it right, girl. The battery debacle. That was bad enough. And even though I'm using a Samsung product, I'm not encouraging them. You know, I'm fully aware that Samsung have their history, that they too engaged in some risky behaviour when the batteries came unstuck. They were trying to compete with Apple, apparently, thinking that the Apple iPhone 7 was going to beat them. And they ended up worrying over nothing and then creating a huge amount of waste in the process and some injuries and property damage to the customers. And they had to recall all these fucking phones. And who knows where the phones are gone. You know, where is the e-waste dump where all these Samsung phones are gone? So yeah, I see that even companies who I find useful, like Samsung, because I bought their phone, I'm still aware that they too have a history fucking around. So this doesn't look too good, folks. I'm wondering if we're going to do something different. If we're going to make this looks shithouse, folks. So I'm wondering if we're going to put the hue back in the middle and going to make another negative on a negative, and we're going to switch the background colour on. Wondering what colour we're going to use. We're going to use red once again. So we're just going to try. But, you know, we just can't survive as a human race by ripping people off and using the environment as a dumping ground. And, you know, I'm sick of this shit, folks. I'm sick of the way these rich people get away with it and they never seem to get penalised. And they just do everything wrong by our planet, by the human race, and it's just not fair. And of course you got slave labour as well, but this looks absolutely shithouse. I'm not doing it very well, folks. This one is not turning out as well as I'd like it to. I don't know why this is turning out so shit. But, you know, I just so over the way the world has become with all this pollution and shit like that. I think I know what I forgot. I forgot to set the darkness to the darkest setting. So I've got to go to the brightness and we've got to darken it. Boom. Hopefully that'll be problem solved. But yeah, we've got to, as a human race, we've got to basically respect the planet and respect each other before profit. But that's not the way the world has become. And I one day want to build photocopiers that will last 60 years, and they'll have, they'll not only last 60 years, but they'll be good for the planet, as well as the people. Now that looks interesting. I wonder if we're going to run with this one. But basically, yeah, we have to, as a human race, pull together, and we've got to do things, we've got to try and do things that we love to do and make sure that something good comes of it, that we use our talents and our abilities to help the planet rather than destroy the planet. And basically, we've got to stop just thinking about ourselves and our money. We've got to think of other people who are less fortunate than us, that are getting a bad deal from the likes of capitalism. We've got to fucking get out of our comfort zone, as in we've got to stop just caring about ourselves and only our loved ones, because what can I say, I'm just so over this have and have not system that we we have these days. I really wish that every human being has an opportunity to shine and to make a difference and to help the overall situation on the planet. But I don't see it happening in this day and age. People are not even using their talents. They can't even afford to. They can't even afford to put food on the table or put a roof over their head. How can they be engaged in a talent or something that they're good at? Then they can't afford even to eat or to have a roof over their head. Now that looks interesting. It's not the greatest. So I'm just wondering how on earth are we supposed to use our abilities when basically the odds are stacked against us, that we cannot use our abilities. We have to basically survive. And when you're trying to survive, trying to nurture a talent and trying to make it useful is basically near impossible, and all you become is a homeless person, and then you end up becoming ultimately dying on the street. And what sort of a life is that? And if it's a person who's highly talented, especially, that's even more wasteful. Now that looks good. That's really nice. So I'm wondering where the centre of this job is going to be. But basically we've got to somehow use our talents to help other people, to bless other people, if it's okay to use that word in this day and age. But basically, we've got to somehow bring other people out of their shells. We've got to help other people become the very best they can be. What's the point in going to school and suffering at school? Because most people hate school, and then you end up on the street as an adult. And you think, well, what was the fuck was that all about? What was the fuck? I might as well have been having fun as a young person and just having a good time and having a good, doing my own thing, because, hey, as an adult, I'm now homeless. And because I'm homeless, I got nothing. And that's the point. It's so pointless. Education becomes pointless, you know, in the face of becoming homeless or dying young, because capitalism killed you. And it's not fucking fair, folks. That, you know, I'm trying to nurture my own talent, and it's costing me a lot of money, and I'm trying to get it out there, and I'm trying my best. And if I was homeless, it would be nearly impossible. I have been homeless before, but fortunately I had a fixed address where I could get my Centrelink payments sent, you know, because you got to have a fixed address to be on Centrelink. So I'm really fortunate I still had a fixed address for my Centrelink benefits to be sent, because I'm disabled and I get a disability pension, and basically, yeah. So, but you don't get much for that, so I have to be very tight on my budget. But anyway, enough about that. I am working on my talent. I'm trying to rise above the adversity, and now I think this is the longest video I've ever shot on this phone. So now I think I better call it quits. But think about it, folks. You know, think about mankind. Think about what you can do to bring out someone else's talent. Gotta go.